We start the event with a keynote presentation by Dr. Ajay Kumar Garg. May I request Dr. Garg to please come on stage, sir? Dr. Garg is a champion of information technology. He is a seasoned technocrat and a key strategist. He is driving many mission-critical digital transformation initiatives at the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Government of India. It is a privilege to have with us Mr. Manu Srivastava. He is the Principal Secretary, Government of Madhya Pradesh. A 1991 batch IAS officer, Mr. Manu Srivastava has worked for 14 years in energy sector and has led path-breaking innovative projects in the field of solar energy. His 750 megawatt REVA project has proved to be an inflection point in the history of solar energy in India. It was the first project in the country to break grid parity. It is the only project in the country supplying power to an institutional customer. Today, Delhi Metro is running on this project. The project has been awarded World Bank Group's President Award. May I please request Mr. Manu Srivastava to come on the stage and give his address, please.
It's a pleasure to meet all of you. I have had a long association with most of you, I suppose. Association started with the branch I chose when I studied engineering. So I studied electrical engineering. And I have, by chance, the service I am in is that of a generalist. You can end up doing anything. Well, I also organize fashion shows as part of handloom and handicraft that look after. But fortunately for me, large part of my career has been in energy. And I have had an occasion to work in various sectors, including in discoms, renewable energy, earlier in natural gas, which has enabled me to have some sort of a holistic view about the sector. One of the problems that I see in the sector has been that whatever we look at in the power sector, finally the only thing that's getting, if you put everything into a black box, what is getting money into the system are only the discoms. Everyone else is paying money to each other. The generating company is paying money to, is getting money from the discom and the transmission company, etc. But finally we are, the only one that's getting money into the room are the discoms. And unfortunately they have been written off as something that is loss-making and that nothing can be done about that. It remains central to the power sector. You cannot imagine, very often I've seen it heard in conferences like this in Delhi that, free power is given. Frankly, it is not free power. It is that the government subsidizes for that power. But the problem is that the subsidy burden is, actually that is helpful to the discoms because the recovery from government is substantially better from the recovery from actual consumers. But the problem is that the subsidy bill has become so onerous, it's so substantial, such a big part of the total budget of the government that increasingly governments are finding it difficult to supply that amount to the discoms. There are delays in that. Delays are very long, which leads in turn to delays to payments to producers, to transmission companies. So we are really getting into a situation where there is no solution. And unfortunately, I would say that the sort of attention that needs to be given. There is so much attention these days to digitization in so many other aspects of life. The best example that comes to my mind is that of railway reservation. Most of you who are slightly elder, perhaps not the very young, would remember times where there were no, there was no computerized reservation. And what a mess it was, the amount of corruption, the amount of nepotism, everything. Computerized reservation has made everything so simple. The same is being tried in so many other aspects, in banking, in services, not only in the government and obviously in the private sector, but in terms of how the utilities function, still that attempt at digitization has not happened. That is impacting it in so many ways. I have headed discoms, so I know there is absolutely no data that is available. It is actually a black box. We only know the energy that is coming into the state or at the nearest meter. If you want to find out how much energy is being consumed in any district, below any substation, that absolutely that data is not available. That is one of the reasons why the losses in the discoms are so high. So essentially then it boils down to the nature of governance in that area. So for example, in Madhya Pradesh, the western Madhya Pradesh, let's say, is more well governed than, let's say, eastern Madhya Pradesh or the northern Madhya Pradesh around Gwalior. So if you look at these areas, you would find that all parameters are better in western Madhya Pradesh than in, let's say, eastern Madhya Pradesh or northern Madhya Pradesh. And it is across sectors. The discoms are performing badly in the badly governed areas, and the health parameters are also worse. The education parameters are also worse. There is rampant cheating in the board exams also. So when something is going wrong in an area, when the governance is poor, then all facets of governance, including the performance of discoms, are poor. And when the governance is better, then all facets, including discom performance, are better. But that goes to indicate that we are failing as a system. That there is no, I mean, when computerized reservation was not there, perhaps this was there. I mean, perhaps there was less corruption in a well-governed area and more corruption in an ill-governed area. But computerized reservation finished that. The same needs to be done in the field of discoms, where we have failed to do so. Apart from that, even in normal functioning of discoms, there is such a great demand. For example, Madhya Pradesh exports power to Punjab and Haryana during the rainy seasons, because Madhya Pradesh does not need too much power in that period. And Punjab and Haryana grow paddy, which they should not be growing in rainy season. And in spite of the immense rainfall, they still need to irrigate. So they need even more power during monsoon season. So MP exports power to Punjab and Haryana. And Punjab and Haryana give power to Madhya Pradesh during November, December, January, the period Madhya Pradesh needs power. Now, as I have taken those decisions, I can tell you these decisions are done with the confidence of someone who is visiting a casino. You have absolutely no idea, no knowledge about what it would be. They are blind decisions taken without any data. It is just, as you would be, if the story of Mahabharata were to be true, so when they threw a dice, they did not know what would happen. So, in this era and in this time, when all this data should be available, then these decisions are taken with the same amount of data that we have, and they have huge impacts. New models are coming up. For example, it was mentioned that I had set up a project which supplies power to Delhi Metro. So this is a project in Rewa, close to Allahabad in Madhya Pradesh. I mean, Rewa is in Madhya Pradesh, Allahabad of course is in UP. So Rewa in Madhya Pradesh, and it supplies solar power to Delhi Metro. And Delhi Metro, during day, 65% of its power comes from that project. Now, this involves exact information regarding the amount of energy input there, the amount of energy taken by Delhi Metro in Delhi. These things require a lot of data availability for decision making, which is not there, which leads to excessive transmission capacity. I myself have been party to decisions where simple ideas about how to use data have led to more optimum planning of transmission. Otherwise, we are investing excessively in transmission capacity because we are not using data optimally to decide how the power flows. So there is a lot that needs to be done. Decentralized generation is becoming more and more of a reality. We need more intelligent planning on the basis of that. Apart from that, I would just like to say one more part, which is something perhaps outside the purview of most of you here who are in the sector. Even people who are outside this room, other decision makers also need to take decisions based on data that you have or the sector has. For example, I was a part of something that government is doing right now, in which we had to assess how districts are doing, to assess the economic development. So I could think of 2 or 3 parameters. One of them was electricity consumption. So I thought that per capita, per annum electricity consumption is a fairly good estimate of how developed the area is. And I tested this hypothesis against the data that we have in Madhya Pradesh. It was broadly correct, but what I realized was that we do not have any authentic information regarding the energy consumed in a district. We only have information regarding the, because there is no metering at the district level. So we only have information regarding energy that flows into the state because you pay for that. Apart from that, everything is based on reports generated by people who are judged by their performance on the basis of those reports. So you can imagine how correct they would be. So if you are setting your question paper, then you would obviously set the question paper so that you get better marks. So most of the data regarding how much energy is used in, let's say, commercial sector or industrial sector or household sector, etc., are generated by people whose performance is judged on the basis of how much recovery takes place in those parameters. But the point is that this data is essential to decision making per se. If you want to find out which areas are more developed, etc. So the point is that you need data emanating from this sector not only for the growth and prosperity and well-being of this sector, but also so that it becomes the cornerstone of decision making across all sectors. And again, I would just stress this, that discoms are something that cannot be given up. I mean, we have this tendency that nothing can be done about it, That very often people say that about India as well. I mean, many of you would have friends, colleagues, cousins who would have left India and said nothing can be done about India, but we all realize that a lot can be done about India, is being done about India, and well, we are here, so we have to do things about India. And the same is true for discoms. You cannot write them off. You cannot say that, I mean, it's a bad case, so you cannot do anything about it. This is something that we cannot leave. We have to consistently work in the sector, and I believe that using data intelligently is a requirement of the sector, not only for the growth of the discoms, but for, broadly speaking, for the electricity sector, and broadly speaking for the economy of the country and for the nation. I would just conclude by thanking the organizers for having given me this opportunity to speak to all of you, and to say that it's always a pleasure to connect with people who are working in the sector. Thank you so much.